All right, everyone. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's so nice to be back here on Adobe Live with our Friday Masterclass. Seems like just yesterday. Well, it was just yesterday. I did a little pre-stream test with some new stream gear to make sure everything's working well. But it's wonderful to see you all here today. And in the true spirit of sort of, returning back to school after the holiday break, I thought it would be really cool to start this first live stream of the year talking about some of the things you may have missed in the second half of 2020, specifically with regard to Premiere Pro. As always, despite all the crazy things going on in the world, we're constantly updating these applications. And while you might catch the masterclasses and you might catch a lot of the release things that we do on Adobe Live and on Creative Cloud, YouTube, and elsewhere, I'm the first to say it's easy to miss a feature here and there if you're just not constantly looking for them. And because they're constantly being updated, it's just easy to miss some of the little things, whether it's formats, whether it's little simple time savers like effects filtering, which I'm going to show you in a moment, which is so incredibly powerful and awesome. We didn't do a huge fanfare about it, so you may have missed it. And this is something that can truly not only save you time and improve your process and experience in Premiere Pro, but it's one of those awesome little things that just really makes the whole experience better. So as always, we're coming to you live on Behance, on YouTube, and Twitter Periscope. Thank you ever so much for joining. I can see we've got Dr. Jekyll and Hyde, Pedro from Brazil, Afroja, Reverb Mike, Sam, Quinn Stevenson, Akib, and we've got Bhavin and Des Winter and Donald Ping and David Lewis and Eric Van Norden and Hassan Mohammed. Very nice to see you. And Mustafa. Thank you. Yes, we did some changes to the lighting and some other things in the studio over the break here. All right, Jimmy Media from Slovenia, great to see you, and Wade. All right, and coming to over here on the Periscopes. A lot of people on Periscope again today. I guess people know it's going away. So get it while you still can. Okay, well, with that in mind, I'm going to fire up Premiere Pro, and we're going to get started here. Now, there's a couple of things to keep in mind. I actually went back to May. So from May to December, all the various things that sort of big features that I can demo that we released, as well as pointing out a couple of things like file formats and some other things that we put out there that will also just make your life a lot better, a lot easier, especially if you didn't even know that we supported a lot of this stuff. So let me go ahead and switch over to my screen here. And, as always, I don't ever prepare docs or anything, so I always just type it up here. So here you can see the first two things we're going to cover from May 2020, Bezier curves with the pen tool and effects filtering. Bezier curves with the pen tool? What? First of all, even thinking about this, and someone tweeted this out to me a couple weeks ago, they're like, you didn't always do Beziers with the pen tool in Premiere? And the answer was no, not until May. Seems like a really easy, obvious thing, but because it's done in all the other applications, but now you have it in Premiere as well, and it's real simple and it's real easy. So I'll show you a couple of quick examples of this, just with creating some basic masks. But of course, you can use this whether you're masking on effects or just drawing with the pen tool in general. The same process applies. So here, by the way, in all the footage that I'm showcasing today is Adobe stock footage, some licensed, some in preview mode here. A couple of clips are mine from random things, but almost everything here is Adobe stock content. All right. So to show off creating Beziers with the pen tool, probably easiest just to use something like a bouncing ball right here, okay? Real easy to find this content on Adobe stock. So let's go up to the effects controls here, select our clip. Now, of course, you're thinking, well, if you're gonna mask a ball, why not just use the, the ellipse mask tool, which is what I would normally do. And the funny thing is, in thinking about it, so you select the ellipse mask and it gives you this, it gives you an ellipse. And then I was trying to count before how many clicks to get this just right. So probably 4-ish, and then maybe a couple additional tweaks and then you kind of keep moving it and whatnot. I'm not super fast. I'm not a designer. So again, the ellipse tool for doing circles and things and doing round things pretty much has always done what I need. But of course, you're not always doing circles. But let's just go back to this for a second. Let's get out of this. Let's grab our pen tool instead. And now I'm just going to draw 4 little control points. All right, little design tip. I can't remember. I think Paul may have shown me this a long, long time ago. So to create Beziers, you're simply going to hold down the Alt or Option key and click. And that's it. And now you've got Beziers with handles. All right, so we're going to do this, as you can imagine, to all 4 points here real quickly and get a circle that right away is already sort of more on point, for lack of a better word, than the previous ellipse that we were using before. All right, real simple, real easy. Again, you've got all your handles, all your controls. Also, if you want to convert one of those points back to linear, simply hold down Alt or Option again and click, and it does just that. All right. So it functions the way you expect. It works real smoothly, really, really simple, really, really easy. And then of course we could track this motion if we wanted to. Using this kind of as just an additional example here. Again, nothing fancy on this clip. This is not a particularly great mask, but just showing you that it's a combination of Beziers and linear points here. All right. So if we were trying to do, again, some very specific tracked color correction on this goat or whatever, you know, again, drawing this with the pen tool, you'd have a lot of rough edges and you'd have a lot of bleed and other things that you don't want. So having those Beziers in there just makes the whole thing a lot easier to achieve, a lot easier to do. All right. Very cool. Looking out here for some questions. That really does up the ante for the pen tool, says Ant Pruitt. What's up, my man? Yeah, I mean, again, it's so funny when someone tweeted that out to me. Even I was like, oh, I think we've had that. I think it's been a while. It was this just last year. It just feels like it's always been there because it really should have always been there, right? But now it is. So there you go. All right, very cool. Be the ball, Reverb Mike. Very, very nice. Okay. I think effects filtering is yes, it is. Okay. So this next one here, this was a user request. This is something that I've been asking for. And once again, and I almost hate to use such hyperbolic statements, but it's true. This feature alone, effects filtering, if this was all I got, frankly, last year, in terms of like small things that are big, this would be it. Pen tool's great. Again, I don't design this basic masking. I didn't have so much of a it wasn't too detrimental to me to not have that prior to last year. But this one here, game changer. So here we have a clip that I showed a couple months back during a Daily Creative Challenge for Rush. Love this clip. Again, this is not a statement here. Just happened to find a nice blue chair, red chair on the beach, right? Sitting side by side in harmony. And if I simply turn off all the effects for a moment here, I want to remind you that we have this global effects mute button. I don't remember when this was added. I think this was 2019, could even be 2018. If you don't have the effects button in your button editor, or rather in your panel there, click on the plus sign to go into your button editor and simply drag the effects button down into your button bar, okay, which is what I did here. So again, this is brilliant because simply by toggling that, this is no effects at all. And if we just quickly look over here to see what I've got going on there. So I've got some Lumetri color, all right, and then a bunch of different modules have been activated within Lumetri. I've got Gaussian blur, which appears to not have any changes or settings just yet. And then I've got some fast blur with some masking and some other things going on here that are keyframed, okay? And like you, I mean, if you're starting to kind of build up a look for a clip, even though we have things like HSL secondaries in Lumetri, anyway, it's very common to use multiple effects on a single clip, right? So again, just by turning all the stuff on that I have here, really kind of changes the mood, changes the vibe. Really like this, love the way this looks. Okay, yes, of course, Sam, you can also do feathering with the pen tool with the mask. Yep, in fact, you can even see if I just scroll down here, once you create your mask, whether it's with the ellipse, the polygon, or the free draw Bezier pen tool, you'll have mask feathering and expansion options for all of those masks, and it works just as it does in After Effects. Okay, so a lot of effects on here, and again, especially if you've got multiple modules of Lumetri, like I constantly do this. I think Ant and I have talked about this before. Because I come from a Lightroom background in terms of color grading, color correction, I always start in the basic corrections tab because that's just like the basic functions in Lightroom at the top, right? Temperature, tint, exposure, contrast, highlights, black, white, shadows. And I sometimes make, a couple of basic tweaks there, and then I'll go on to, and then saturation, and then I'll go into the creative tab, maybe do faded film, maybe do some vibrance, maybe soften the sharpening a little bit, and then maybe I'll do some individual curves, or maybe some HSL, or maybe some vignetting. it starts to get really large. Now, of course, I can dock this whole thing over to the right like I have over here. It gets a little bit cleaner, a little bit easier to edit. But when I've got effects stacked together, I find myself sometimes working over on the right, but often going over to the left. And the problem is, even on the right side, I mean, you can keep these so that they don't that they stay open. You can change that mode here. So instead of solo mode, you can take it out of solo. But then it's the same problem. Then you're just scrolling constantly. And, you know, that's annoying, right? It just is. It sounds like I'm making a sales pitch, but it is annoying. It's a drag. So rather than do that, we created effects filtering. So if you click over into the effects controls panel, the bottom right, you're going to see this little icon right here, which looks like a funnel. I suppose that's meant to be a filter. And if we twirl this down, you'll see that you have three options here. So the first is show all properties. So of course, that's going to show all effects and all the things that you have in the state that you left them. So this is the thing that I often do, and tell me if you're with me here. Like, I'll do something in basic, I'll twirl it up, I'll do something in creative, maybe I'll leave that open, I'll do something real quick in vignette, and then I'll close it, and I'll forget if I've done anything in there. So I'm like twirling up and down the modules so that they're just kind of cleaning up the interface, right? What if I just want to be able to say, okay, I love this look, I just want to tweak the vignette, or I just want to tweak some parameter that I keyframed, or something like that. I'd love to be able to see just the stuff that I modified or edited. Well, now you can do that easily. So if we go back to filter properties, first let's start with show only edited properties, all right? So if we go into edited properties, what's so awesome about this is that what you'll see here is that it's going to automatically show you only the parameters, even from those various modules. So again, basic correction has 8 or 10 different sliders, right? But we're only seeing highlights, blacks, saturation, because I only modified those 3. So it minimizes what's on screen, keeping things a lot cleaner. All right, I can further twirl those up, but again, if I twirl it back down, it's only in the mode to show me what I edited. Similarly here in creative, all right, I've got a keyframe on faded film, so that's why it's at 0, but it changes over time. I've got keyframes on vibrance as well. Again, I only made change to the hue versus sat curve under our selective color grading. So, oh, and Luma too, it appears. I made a slight change and then modified it back down. But again, because I made an edit in there, that's what we're seeing. So freaking cool. Nothing in Gaussian blur. I didn't do anything in Gaussian blur, so again, just a placeholder there. And then we've got 2 parameters here. But again, step further now. What if I don't want to see just the stuff that I edited? I only want to see the stuff that has keyframes, right? That changes over time. We can switch it now to show only keyframed properties. And now, again, look at how wonderful and clean this interface is. So you can see that over time it's changing, it's adding faded film, it's adding vibrance, as well as it adds this mask and some feathering, because what I do is I try and draw focus on the benches here and kind of blur out the background. So here's what that looks like. Again, pretty subtle, but you'll see it just now as the keyframes start to go into place. There we go. The masking continues. Used a lot of feathering here. You can see about 189 pixels of mask feather there. All right. You can see that background getting slightly more blurry. There was already some nice natural shallow depth of field there, but I just tried to accentuate it. This is, again, one of those, where has this been? This is my favorite feature of the 2020 release, because this is something that I deal with every day, right? Adding effects, particularly Lumetri. I love Lumetri. I do all my grading in Premiere. I still sometimes use Magic Bullet and stuff in After Effects and Colorista and all that, but I'm most comfortable in Lumetri. But navigating it's time consuming, and it can get frustrating when you're scrolling constantly, right? Especially if you're on like super high res monitors and you have to zoom stuff in and change views. Effects filtering makes it so easy, all right? Super cool. No one teach the Masterclass of Effects in Premiere Pro. Please do that. The Masterclass of Effects. Okay, yeah, we could do a specific one on just effects. I mean, I've done several in the past, but sure, time to do a refresh on those. Love it. Ant's agreeing with me. Sam, yes. Mallory, you're so welcome. Good to see you again. Thanks for tuning in. All right. Everybody's happy. Kyle Cram, what's up? Ignacio, Tim Cunningham, Surge World, good to see you. Okay. Very cool. All right. So, Bezier pen tool, effects filtering, both of these were released in May. Let's now cut to June and go to an area that is very familiar to me and something that I love, which is our now inclusion natively of stock audio as part of our stock offering, directly accessible, previewable, timeline syncable, and able to be licensed directly in the timeline in the latest versions of Premiere Pro. So we partnered with Epidemic Sound and Jamendo, and at present we have almost 38,000 tracks that you can preview and license directly from within Premiere. So this is, again, I've shown this video many times. This was a pseudo mock-up trailer for an adult adventure show. That sounds weird. For an adventure show. Could be for kids too. That I put together a couple of years ago. And I scored my own music to it, but I wanted to see maybe what was out there, what I could use stock-wise. Maybe I wasn't loving my music so much. So if you go into the Essential Sound panel, if you're in the Standard Edit tab, this is what we use to do, you know, our tagging of our media, and then we can use all the effects and filters and things that Essential Sound offers for quick and easy mixing. But you'll now see that there's a Browse tab, and in the Browse tab, this is where we now have access to Adobe Stock Audio. So you can search by a specific term or title or something like that. But really what you're probably most likely to do is use the mood, genre, and filter search to show you the most relevant results. So if we twirl down on moods here, again, if you've ever used a stock audio site, you know, we're pulling these from Epidemic and Jamendo, and I think we've added even a couple more in there. But it's all the standard moods that you're familiar with, you know. I love how it starts with angry. Angry, atmospheric, dramatic, exotic, romantic, quirky, powerful, scary, space age, sparse, suspenseful, etc. All right, and then we go into genres, and you can see many of the various genres here. And even if you go into, you know, if you go into pop, you know, there are all the subgenres: Britpop, bubblegum, electropop, Europop, pop funk, synth pop. You know, same with R&B, contemporary doo-wop, funk, Motown, soul, rock, all different types of rock in there: surf, southern, soft, punk, metal, indie, grunge. You get the idea, all right? And then under filters, this I think is actually the most interesting, because here you've got tempo filters and duration filters and vocal filters. So again, out of these 38,000 tracks or so, a lot of them have vocals and things. Some like songs, you know, lyric type vocals. Others are just oohs and ahs. Maybe you don't want any vocals, you know. If you're looking for, you know, dramatic, epic, orchestral, I always think like Lord of the Rings, where it's vocals in the form of choral, choirs, you know, oohs and ahs and dramatic stuff. Maybe you want that. That could actually be nice here. Or you can choose no vocals. So you can choose exactly what you want. Has vocals, no vocals, or, you know, both. All right, let's do has vocals just to see. You can also choose specifically which audio partner you want to filter. I've just been using both, but you see that the moment that we made that change, has vocals, it dropped down to 4,063 results, okay? Again, what if we did no vocals? Dropped down to, went back up, 33,852. All right, well, I'm curious, so let's do has vocals. Now, I could choose a genre or I could choose a mood, but rather than do that, this music that I have is 145 beats per minute. So, and the cuts were timed to that audio. So in order for something to work that's going to not be my own, I basically want it to be exactly 145. I'm going to give it a slight window, 145 to 150, okay? And when I do that now, you can see that it's really thinned out those results. But we still have 110 results that we can choose from. So what we can now do is we can back this up, and at the bottom of the timeline here, all right, you'll see that we have something called Timeline Sync. I don't know if you can see that little tooltip, but when enabled, audio is going to preview wherever your playhead is. So I obviously want this to start at the beginning of the track. This is just for preview. So now when I click on this first one here, All Eyes on Me, which is making me think of Tupac, let's hear what this sounds like and take a look. Kind of weird. Okay, not going to be the one. Let's go to the next one here. These all have kind of long intros, so nope, that's not going to do it. How about Drop Dead? Kind of got a surfy vibe there, right? Uplifting, epic inspiration, no drums. Yeah, I mean, that kind of works. And that's not too different from what I was choosing. And curiously, if you notice, a lot of the cuts are actually looking very good. I started the audio a little bit late, so theoretically I'd want to slide this. It looks like about 2 frames. But you can see these are a straight 145 BPM. So these are going to work wonderfully. Let's check out this emotional choir one here. In fact, here I'm going to clear this. Let's clear the in to out. And let's start it right here. Very slow. Okay, maybe not. How about your gain? Okay, you get the idea, all right? You can filter, you can search. If you like it, let's say we like that one. Let's take this uplifting epic one. We thought that was pretty good. I can just drag it right from the Essential Sound panel directly into the timeline. And this is going to download a low-res preview. It's not watermarked. It's just like, I think maybe they're 128 kilobit. I think they're even lower than that. There might be 96 kilobits. And what you can see is it's now in our timeline at the bottom here. So here's the full-length track, and it shows you that it's a preview, okay? So this is really nice because we make it easier for you to audition it, see if it's going to work. You can see there's this other B section here. It's a very busy section at the end there. To see if that's going to work for you, to let your clients check them out. And if they like them, at that point, you can simply right-click or control-click and choose to license the audio, okay? Now, I don't think I have any credits left, so it's probably going to take me to the website here. Oh, no, it's going to do it right here. Okay. So it's going to search and tell me if I have any credits or not, and then it probably tells me I need to purchase them. Okay. Yeah, continue Adobe stock website to purchase or license. Okay, so there you go. So, but that's it, okay? Real simple. And you can buy those credits in advance, which again means that you never have to leave the interface of Premiere to license your music. Real simple, integrated, easy, nearly 38,000 tracks to choose from. Personally as a composer, I compose my own stuff because finding stuff that you like is super hard. But we've got tons of it, and I highly invite you to check it out. All right. So that is stock audio released in June 2020 for Premiere. All right, Richard Adams. This is my problem with selecting music. You have to listen to a lot before you find one that works. Absolutely. And that's why, and it's funny. When I went in and I was just looking at the footage, I'm like, okay, I kind of know what I want to do. By the way, many of you have already heard this, but I'll just play it for you. Here was my, I'll even turn off so you can hear it in stereo. Here was my, this was my soundtrack that I put in here, so you can just see this real quickly. So again, I knew what I wanted just by seeing it. And then when I actually went to start looking for stuff, I even found there's a couple, they don't have vocals. So if I change this, I'll find more. But there were a few, curiously at 145, that still had that same kind of, orchestral, but rock kind of vibe to them. And again, I could just say rock, epic, orchestral, 145 BPM and see what it returns. So the more that you have a good idea about what you want, it's all about thinning out those results. But yeah, even previewing 110, I hear you. It takes a lot of time. So, and Tim is pointing out, so yeah, so while there aren't any free Adobe Stock Audio soundtracks in Premiere, we have over 1,000 free soundtracks in Premiere Rush, which are, you don't have to license, they're already available to you royalty free. So if you started a project in Rush, you can open that project in Premiere Pro and take advantage of the audio there if you want to do that. So you have over 1,000 tracks there. Now, the only caveat I'll give you with that one is we don't have a search like this. So you're really scrolling through to find what you want. I'm sure they will change that. But there are 1,000 of them. They are free. You don't have to worry about it. Free and clear. Post it. YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, wherever you want. Free and clear. Good to go. All good for use. So check those out. Okay. All right. So moving on. Scene edit detections. We're going to use the same piece here. Now, scene edit detection was also released in June 2020, and or was it released in beta in June 20? Gosh, I don't even remember now. In any case, it came out end of last year, and the idea behind this is that you can take something like this finished edit that I have here, and let's say that I wanted to go back and tweak some of the color, or again, some of these, the contrast is a bit different, and just kind of homogenize the look. I mean, there's a number of reasons why we might want to go back to something that's been flattened or edited or finished and make tweaks to it. But to do that properly, I'd have to come in here, and find my cut points, and place a cut there so that I separate those clips. All right, don't mind the markers. I did that when I was adding the audio. But, if I didn't have those, it would take me a long time to go through all this, place cuts, and then treat them individually. So scene edit detection does that work for you. It's going to analyze all of the cut points in your video, cut them for you, and then you have a couple of options. So let me show you what this does. So I'm going to right click, control click again here, and I'll choose scene edit detection, okay? And when you do that, you'll see that it's by default will allow you to apply a cut at each detected cut point. Oh, hold on, I'm going to add this back in. Bear with me for 1 second here. All right. So apply a cut at each detected cut point. Now what you can also do, it'll even create a bin of subclips from each detected cut point, which can be nice to have. So they're basically separated into their edited points with handles. Or you can create clip markers at each detected cut point. Well, I've already got clip markers in there from where I left the audio. So in this case, I just wanted to do the cuts. Let's go ahead and click Analyze, okay? Now, I'm curious to see what this is gonna do. This works very, very well. Dare I say 99.9% perfectly for straight cuts, okay? So, you have mountain scene and you have ocean scene and there's no transition or anything. It's going to detect those cuts perfectly. Even if it's the same ocean, but you're looking, to the north here, and then you have another edit where you're looking south or west or don't mind my hand positions. It'll detect those, right? Where it doesn't really do so well necessarily, although it can surprise you, is if you have transitions or sometimes like if you do the flash to white, a clip, 2 frames of white or black or something like that, sometimes it can throw it off. So we're going to see what it did here. So if I just go ahead and play. Now, by the way, if you look down in the timeline now, you can see that it has now added cuts at each detected cut point. All right. So let's just go ahead and see. And I can even I'll hold down my shift key so I can move between all of these. All right. So I'm using shift and down arrow, and it looks like it detected everything perfectly. Even these faster cuts at the end. This was like da 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 da. Okay. Did a really good job. Now, what's interesting is this one here. Hold on, I want to zoom in on this. There actually was, so it wasn't a transition. I used a light leak overlay. So it kind of fakes that it's like a transition, right? You can see that light leak is just adding that little bit of, that was again to kind of homogenize the color between those shots. It found it perfectly because again, the scene completely changes. So it was able to detect that cut point flawlessly. Now I've got a feeling the first one here, let's see. All right, so it fades up from black. Notice it did even a cut at the beginning there. Okay. So right here, and this is something, I don't know why it doesn't do it. Maybe because it's thrown off by the white flash. It did not detect this cut point right here. And it's because there's a solid 2 frames of white in there, okay? So yeah, big deal. I just come in here and now I would just make that 1 cut, whatever, and keep working. So it missed 1, okay? If they're not straight cuts, again, sometimes I've had it where the flash to white, if it's like a couple of frames, sometimes it does it. This is a good example of it just didn't catch everything, but so much faster and easier to do all that work. Now this is only 30 seconds. Imagine if this were 2 minutes or 20 minutes or, you know, even if it's an hour, right? You could use this for, like, let's say a comped interview, and you're going to go back and, you know, make your selects, and you want it to auto detect each time the camera change, because the camera's changing on different speakers. It can do all that for you. It can do all the editing for you. It's awesome. It's using Adobe Sensei, getting a lot faster. So I think it released in June. It got even faster for analysis and detection in the coming months. It's really awesome. It's a great feature. I'm using this a lot now because I tend to do sort of comps of a timeline to ProRes 422HQ or 444, then go back and make additional selects or maybe color correct things, and then finalize, MP4, publish, whatever. So this is a super useful feature, really comes in handy, and again, can really kind of speed up your workflow if you do this kind of stuff a lot. What's up, Axe Grinder? Yes, I was gonna try and shave today, but I didn't. So yes, you're seeing the end of 2020 beard. What's up? Steel Pictures is in the house. Also, this was the starting cam. I've added a couple new cameras, just a different angle in the studio. Again, I changed out some of the lighting and things, just trying to change the mood. So this is kind of a fun angle. There's another one down here, which I can cut to later, of some of the audio gear. We're gonna do at some point, we're gonna do another composition masterclass, audio composition, scoring composition. And we'll get to leverage all of the Akai samplers and synths that still adorn my racks. Okay. So let's go to my list here. All right, so May 2020, Bezier curves with pen tool, effects filtering. Stock audio was really the big one for June. Oh, CNET detection was September. Look at that, I jumped ahead. Okay, there you go. I thought June, was that right? I think we premiered it in beta in June. It actually got released in September, so I jumped ahead of myself. But we're gonna go to this one now, export with proxies. Okay, so this is actually really cool. And it's funny because it adds a feature that used to be, how can I phrase this? So when you use proxies, and just real quickly for anyone who's unfamiliar, proxy files are smaller versions, smaller lightweight versions of your media to make it easier and faster to work in real time in Premiere. So most of this content is 1080p. Some of it is 4K, some of it, like this particular clip, if I do a reveal in project, and then just do our preview area here. So this one, yeah, this is in some, again, this is like a non-standard HD format. I don't know what camera this was shot with. Maybe this was a GoPro or something, or it could be a Red, like a Red shooting at 2K. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know the source of this. It's Adobe stock footage. But if your machine is having trouble playing back resolutions, now you do, of course, have the ability to write in the timeline without creating additional files at all. You can use these fractional playback resolutions. But truthfully, sometimes I like to work in full quality all the time, and I don't want to have to, you know, scrub and quarter and then only pause in full. Sometimes I want it all. So I use proxies for that. And we make it really easy to make proxies. So you can enable proxies right from the media browser. So I've got the media browser docked here, but you can see there's an ingest button right here. And the settings for your proxies can be found under File, Project Settings, Ingest Settings. And you can see that for this project, automatically I'm telling it when I bring in any footage, it's going to create a proxy using ProRes with a medium resolution size and bit rate. Okay, and you can see some of the presets that we have here. By the way, you can create your own proxy preset using any format or flavor that you like. These would be the preferred ones. You know, people ask like, what can I do you know, can I make proxies with H.265? Yes, don't do that. I mean, that's not meant to be a proxy format. There's a lot of encoding and decoding. Not ideal for that. I don't either recommend H.264 proxies, to be honest with you. I would say if you're going to use anything and you really want great performance, ProRes low resolution proxy, again, supported in both Mac and Windows. These work great. If you want a little bit more quality, maybe medium res. I mean, you can try high res if your machine can handle it. Cineform low res, again, it's going to be comparable to the ProRes one. And if you're doing VR stuff, DNX, I've been using those MXF file proxies. They're magical. I mean, even on 6 and 8K stuff, which on this iMac plays, but struggles a little, especially with transitions. Put the proxies on there, it's real time all day long. Okay, so what I was getting at, long explanation here, this footage has a proxy attached to it. So, and this little toggle proxy button lets me see that I'm using the proxy. When it's blue, it's proxy. When it's gray, it's native media, okay? So blue is proxy, gray is native media, all right? So one of the things that, again, you might be doing, maybe you're editing something, I'll place it. This, again, beautiful stock footage here. Here it is without the, oops, I don't want to cut that, sorry. So here it is with effects, without the effects. So again, just kind of changed the mood a little, gave it a slightly more blue cast, added a little bit more red. Again, can probably find, this is another thing that I love about this, show edited properties. So I can see exactly what I did here, you know, some faded film, and it's basically a LUT. I thought I did a whole bunch of work. Nope, it was just a look, faded film and vibrance, and some shadow tint to go from that to that, all right? You can see there's just a lot nicer detail in the shadows, courtesy of that faded film slider. Really love that, okay. So maybe I want to quickly export this. My friend Ant is like, oh, dude, all those ocean shots, send me a quick preview. Just something small that I can see on my phone real quickly, real easily. Okay, cool. Why not use the proxy file, right? Which is already smaller, already in a decent, small, lightweight resolution. It's going to make it real easy for you to export that in the proxy itself. So I can go here to File, Export Media. Now, it used to be, and let me clarify something. So if I do nothing, mind you, I'm viewing proxies in Premiere right now, right? It used to be that when I would go to export, and let's say now I'm going to create my, you know, my YouTube master or whatever, H.264. It used to be that I would have to make sure that this box was unchecked. Otherwise, I would export the proxy version, which of course is a lower bitrate, lower resolution one. I don't want that. So you'd have to turn this off. We changed that behavior, it could be a year or more ago. So now, regardless of what state you're in Premiere when you're working, it will always, by default, export the high resolution master media with whatever effects and changes you've applied. But again, we had requests where people were like, you know, I kind of want the proxy media. It'll export faster, smaller, easier to move around, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. So you'll see now down at the bottom of the media encoder, we have this option here to use proxies. And I'm just trying to get the tooltip on screen for you there. Can I get that back up? There you go. Selecting this option will use proxy media if available, which can render faster. So that's really the point of it, right? I just want to create a super quick version of this. Let's just stick it on the desktop, call it export proxy. Let's see how fast this can go. Export. Oh, and I didn't even use the proxy file. Okay, that's good. Actually, that's a good test. Okay, so that didn't take long. 7 seconds maybe. All right, let's do the proxy version now. Back here. Use proxies. Export. Right? Like half the time. So it went from about 7 seconds to like 2.5, 3 seconds. Okay, so that's why you export proxies. It's not fancy, it's just easy, guaranteed to make your life a little better, all right? If you need that, okay? Super cool. Love this feature. And again, if you don't have this toggle proxy button, okay, go into your button editor here, and just drag this icon down into your button panel, okay? Love this thing. I always talk about this, but you know, there was a period around CS4, I think it was CS4, CS5, pretty much, of course, we didn't have all these buttons, but with the exception of the new one, most of the ones at the bottom here, these are all new. We had multicam. So yeah, this and all this stuff we didn't have before. I don't think we had closed captioning either. All those were displayed in the button panel. If you go back and look at CS5, this program monitor is so busy. It's also very light gray, but it's so busy and so it's hard to look at. It's just so many buttons. It's like, I mean, I always think, you notice I don't have like the insert or all of the edit function buttons like this, like overwrite and lift. I never, 20 years, I think I've used lift twice, like the button for it. I don't do it. Extract, almost never. And by the way, that's worth pointing out too. This has nothing to do with the exporting proxies, but this is a feature that got added a long time ago. People always forget about this. If I want to insert something in this timeline, okay, I don't know where I want to put it just yet. If I grab a clip from the project monitor and drag it over to the program monitor, project panel, this pulls up these drop zones. So you can see I can insert before the clip at the beginning. I can overlay, so right on top of it. I can insert right where I am. I can replace. I can overwrite, or I can insert after. What? Has that always been there? Not always, but it's been there for a while. So if I choose, again, like insert before, it automatically placed that whole clip before this clip. I didn't have to do anything, right? Or again, cursor's in the middle here. Take this. Let's insert right there. Okay? And it did just that. Inserted that video. Now we've got, you know, between two ferns situation going on here. Okay? Or again, take this and replace it. Just replace the existing clip. I love that. That's in and of itself awesome, right? Similarly, if you do that like in After Effects, you know, you can hold down Alt on the layer. If you're trying to replace, specifically like if you're doing like a shape layer or a vector layer, sometimes you have an updated version from Illustrator. Hold down Alt, drag it on top of itself, it replaces it. Same concept here, but with drop zones in the program monitor. So that's another one of those super useful ones. Okay. Elizabeth Mock, looking good. Thank you so much. All right. Bruce Gonzalez, mind blown. Love it. All right. Wow. Okay. All right, let's see. Just checking. No questions. I see people are talking about pricing. Quinn Stevenson, I saw that Adobe stock puppy in a commercial. It probably did. You probably did. I selected that footage for Max back in May or something, and it became a lot of times the footage that we use for Adobe Max, because it gets so much press, makes its way to other things, and we started doing commercials. So yeah, I wouldn't be. I don't know if I saw that one, but I wouldn't be shocked because I had to hand over all that footage. So yeah, that's cool. I mean, and you know, come on, right? Doesn't matter what kind of day you're having. Look at this little. I love animals. I don't have any because they're messy. But I mean, come on, look at this little friend right here. Hey there, little pal. Look at his little sweet face. Ah, slow-mo puppies? Come on. Tongue sticking out? What? Adobe stock, by the way, not a lot of footage of super high frame rate slow-mo puppies. So if you've got some cute dogs or cats, not a lot of those either. I looked specifically. You want to make some side hustle? You want some secondary passive income? Shoot some 240 frame per second 4K puppies or cats. There's not a lot of that stuff on Adobe stock. I needed it. This was the best one I found, and there weren't many. There's not a lot in general out there. I went to all different sites. A lot like 60 frames, but they're doing nothing. cute puppies running in fields at high frame rates? It's an opportunity. Okay. Very good. All right. Yep, saving several steps. Okay, very cool. All right, so let's see. So a couple things here. Oh yeah, this was just one I was going to talk about. Not much to demo here necessarily. And this is something that probably most of you won't need or doesn't really affect your daily work, but we've improved upon HDR workflows specifically for broadcasters who require working in the Rec 2100 color space. And you now have more options in the Lumetri scopes. You can see here they can be set to Rec 2100 HLG. So you can view 10-bit nits and IRE and values real easily. So again, not something that most of you will do. This is not HDR footage, although it looks like it potentially could be. But if I go into my Lumetri monitor here, again, now you'll see it displays the color space that you're working in. And Rec 709 is the default. If we right-click, control-click inside the Lumetri scopes, again, you've got lots of different options. You also have all the various scopes that you can show displaying. I usually just keep this one open, just the waveform. And there's presets as well. Parade type, waveform type, color space. All right. And this is where you'll see. Now, we added Rec 2020. That's a year or two ago. That could even be, I think we were at IBC 2019 when we released that. So, but now you can see Rec 2100 HLG and PQ. So when you choose that, all right, you're going to see our scopes change. Now, again, this is not proper HDR footage, but you can see that the scale of the scopes have changed. It shows you the color space that we're in, and you can see that we're in 10-bit here, all right? And you've even got more options. We could switch this over to HDR, right? And see how that's being displayed, okay? 10,000 nits over there. Okay, super cool. So again, probably not something that most of you are going to need or encounter or even care about, but worth pointing out. Another one of those slightly hidden little things that not everybody runs into or remembers. Okay, all right, we've got about 13 minutes. Okay, cool. So quick export. So this was one again that we added. Let's go put this guy in a new sequence. All right. Nah. Again, Adobe stock footage. I've got some animals myself from an African safari. This is a quite lovely shot, even though this goat kind of freaks me out because it looks so human. And what if I want to do a quick export? Now, I was talking before using proxies for quick export. Yes. We have an additional quick export functionality that doesn't rely on proxies at all. It's just using some very fast code under the hood that eliminates you from having to go to media encoder. So that's the key, because when you do a traditional export, right, you're coming over here, going into media encoder, or maybe you're queuing it into the background to media encoder, and then you're choosing your format, you're choosing your preset, you're modifying settings, you know, all this kind of stuff. Maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you just want a faster way. I just need a quick, you know, high quality reference. Okay. Well, in the upper right-hand corner of Premiere now, you'll see quick export with that familiar share icon. By the way, you also have this function in Rush, right? So when you click on quick export, it's real simple. Real simple. Where do you want it to go? And then you've got basically 7 options here. So it'll do match source, high, medium, low. So again, I'll use my buddy Ant. Hey, can you just send me a quick like high bit rate? I just want to see how it's looking. Sure, perfect. High quality, you can see these call out specific frame sizes. So match source is going to take whatever this is. So in this case, it's 1920, 1080, 2997, 48K. That's what it's going to use as the basis. That's why I would use match source. If I want the highest quality, but I just need like a 720p version, right? For easier email, you know, sharing, Dropboxing, whatever. That's why you have these specific presets here. So most of the time, you know, you're not even going to bother changing this. And this will tell you H.264, 1080, 2997, 2 megabits, 15 seconds, stereo, estimated file size, 4 megs. Export. You don't have to go to media encoder. You don't have to do anything. And it's done, okay? About 3 seconds, all right? and it tells you it was exported. Now, let's try to do a quick comparison here. I'm always curious. We'll do the same thing. So we'll do a match source, high bit rate. I'm not going to change anything. I'm going to just change where it's going. What did I say this is? Goat? That is a goat, right? Big animal person here. All right, let's turn off use proxies and let's export and see how long it takes. All right, about the same. Some things you'll really see a significant difference. That one we didn't necessarily. But the point is, especially if you're doing like quick, just small, shareable, low bit rate versions, right? Like low bit rate, real easy. Choose that preset, export. All right, done. Now, the one caveat I'll say here, as you can see, it's a modal process, just like if you hit the export button in Media Encoder. So what do I mean by that? I can't do anything while it's exporting. So that's the equivalent in terms of being locked out of the app if you were to render using the export button here, right? When you do this, it's modal, meaning that this is what's up on screen. You can't do anything. Can you go to another app and work? Yes, but it's using all the system's resources to do that export. So everything's going to be slow. Web stuff will be slow. Outlook will be slow. Mail, doesn't matter what it is. All right, it's modal. If you wanted to be able to export in the background and still do other things, that's when you're going to queue. All right, so you send it in the background to Media Encoder. The quick export is also leveraging a modal export. So, but the idea being that it's going to be faster. It's definitely faster. And again, for something really quick and fast, like, all right, I'm just go quickly run to the restroom, quick export, come back, keep working, okay? So it locks you out of the app temporarily, just like the export button in Media Encoder does, but it's a bit faster, okay? And again, less options, less to fuss around with, socially shareable export options, right? You don't have to think about codec, frame size, frame rate, aspect ratio, none of that. It's gonna do what's on screen, high, medium, or low. Okay. Nice. Richard saying, Media Encoder doesn't auto-open with export from AE. Has anyone else noticed that behavior lately? Interesting. I just did an export the other day and it auto-launched for me. I will say sometimes, and again, I'm sure you've experienced that, Richard, I will say in recent updates, I noticed that sometimes for whatever reason, especially if it's a more complex After Effects comp, it seems to be taking a bit longer. In fact, what I've seen, sometimes I'll have Media Encoder launched already. I don't see the comp pop up in there. I've seen it take a lot of time. Instead of if I just go from Media Encoder, do I have Media Encoder open? Since you just brought that up, let me just show you something that I just find often just makes it is faster anyway. Maybe you don't want to do this way. And I would just see, again, I just did this the other day. So I know, at least for me, it did auto launch. It took a minute. And again, sometimes I'll see this, but I don't see the comp. I'm like, well, where is it? And then it just kind of appears. So it's taking a minute. And that's because, it is using, I think it's launching the dynamic link server manager. So there's some process that's happening there. If you simply go up to the file menu and choose, add After Effects comp, it's pretty much instantaneous. So again, I don't know if that's what you want to do, but sometimes I've just found that it's just easier, right? Assuming your After Effects project is saved, got Media Encoder open, add After Effects comp, find it, and then you can just add them in there real quickly. So, but I'm gonna look into that too, and let me know what versions you're using, because I just last week did this. So yeah, that's happened to you too. All right, yeah. So maybe it's just an anomaly. Hopefully nothing broken there. All right. Elizabeth Mock, 33% royalties. That's some nice passive income. Yes, and Elizabeth, it's very worth pointing out, of course, that video really pays. I mean, photos pay too, but you got to sell a lot of photos. Video, $79 for an HD clip. Yeah, you make 33% of that. It's pretty awesome for one sale. All right, the last thing I want to show you here is a website. Now, we have this new speech to text feature in Premiere. I invite you to go to pages.adobe.com/premiere/en/speech to text. Glad we made that easy. And you can get early access to the transcription process. Now, if you want to try our auto captioning, you can access this. All of you can access this right now by going to the Beta Apps section in Creative Cloud and downloading Premiere Pro Beta. And then in the Premiere Pro Beta, there's actually a beta menu item up here, all right, up at the top. You're not seeing it because I'm in the release version. And then under that menu, there's something that says Enable Caption Workflow, and that's all you got to do. Check it out. It's awesome. That is still in beta, but that will be coming sometime in 2021. Until then, have a great rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, and we'll see you again next time. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.